Welcome back to the Forde-Yard Dash, the video version. I'm Pat Forde, and as usual, there is plenty going on, especially in the coaching carousel situation in college football. Never stops this season, that's for sure. Billy Napier was the latest to go on Saturday at Florida, actually Sunday. That was inevitable. It had been coming basically since the second week of the season. And as the openings keep happening, get ready for more. Now, there were a couple of statements of support on Monday for embattled coaches that at least wanted to get the word out. We're not firing them during the season, it sounds like. We'll see about after the season. Those came at Florida State, where Mike Norvell has lost 4 in a row after a promising start, beating Alabama, and at Wisconsin, where Luke Fickell has completely lost the plot and is 2-10 over his last 12 games, with neither victory coming over power conference competition. So what will happen after the season, we'll see. The problem? Money. Florida State, I think, would love to make a change. The buyout is $60 million for Mike Norvell, and Florida State doesn't necessarily have oil men running around willing to throw out $60 million, plus all the other money they have spent on staff, and they've invested quite a bit in facilities there, so they were a little bit strapped, but they would certainly love to make a change, as would Wisconsin. We'll see about those at the end of the year, but other places, seats continue to be very hot. Auburn, it seems like it is trending toward a dismissal of Hugh Freeze 3 seasons in. It is not happening at all there. LSU, Brian Kelly has a winning record, and heck, they're still in contention in the SEC, although with 2 losses, they're on the outside looking in. But LSU looks at itself and says, we should be going to the playoff. We should be competing for national championships. And they're not very close on those fronts at the moment. Kentucky is in a similar situation to Florida State, where the buyout is probably the only thing saving Mark Stoops. We'll see again if that changes down the stretch here and into the postseason. Maryland may want to make a change with Mike Locksley. The North Carolina kettle continues to simmer. They played a closer game over the weekend against California, but still lost on a fumble near the goal line late in the game. And then what the heck do they do at Clemson? You're not going to fire Dabo Swinney. He's the best coach in school history. He's won 2 national titles. He's been to 7 playoffs, but he really has lost the mojo that made him and his program something special. So I don't know whether you just sit down with him and have a conversation about how we're going to modernize this thing. I don't see Dabo Swinney being fired. I doubt he would want to go. So they may be stuck with each other more or less at Clemson. A lot going on the coaching carousel. We'll keep monitoring it. All right, second quarter. Had some fun with this. Inspired by Shohei Ohtani's immortal performance last week in the National League Championship Series, where he hit 3 home runs and struck out 10 batters. Maybe the greatest baseball performance we've ever seen. It got me thinking, what are the greatest college football performances we've ever seen? The sport's been around for over 150 years. There's a lot to choose from. This was not easy to do, but I did feel pretty good landing on number 1. That is Vince Young against USC, 2005 Rose Bowl National Championship game, in which Vince threw for 267 yards, ran for 200, and quite literally took the game over in the fourth quarter when the Longhorns were trailing by 12, and he ran or passed for every single yard on 2 touchdown drives to pull out the Natty. So that was I thought, a pretty compelling number 1. But man, oh man, there's so many other choices once you get past that. Red Grange, what he did in 1924, a long time ago. But what he did against Michigan, look it up. 6 touchdowns. He had 4 of them in the first quarter. Patrick Mahomes, 819 yards total offense against Baker Mayfield and Oklahoma when he was at Texas Tech. Reggie Bush had an immortal game. Doug Flutie threw the Hail Mary. And Ndamukong Suh tore apart Texas in a Big 12 championship game. Don't forget what Jerry Rice did on the HBCU level at Mississippi Valley State. Some of that was the stuff of legend. there's a lot to choose from, a lot to argue about there. So I encourage you to actually to read the story and then come back and give me your own suggestions. What did I miss on? Maybe Joe Burrow, 7 first-half touchdown passes in the college football playoff semifinal against Oklahoma. Pretty strong. I gave that an honorable mention. Maybe it should have been higher. Anthony Davis, 6 touchdowns against Notre Dame in 1972. Pretty strong. So a lot to choose from there. Go ahead and read that. Feel free to debate it. That's a lot of fun to just to figure out where you stand on some of the great performances in history. All right, third quarter. So in the first quarter, we talked about a lot of the hot seat situations out there, but this time let's talk about available coaches. 3 longtime super successful guys who have been fired and are available and given every signal that they want to coach in 2026. That starts with James Franklin, who was let go at Penn State. Pat Fitzgerald, fired a few years ago at Northwestern, but has settled his wrongful termination lawsuit against the school and probably frees him up to be hired. And Mike Gundy, the Stillwater Mullet, who's back on the market. We'll see what the market is for him. But looking at available jobs, where might be good fits for them? For James Franklin, I thought UCLA seems like a great place. He's a big personality, wants a big market. I think he would do well in selling that place. He's a program builder, and that's a place that's in need of some building. The one problem, he's also a bit of a complainer about what he doesn't have, and UCLA is not one of the most flush places out there in terms of facilities, roster, NIL, etc. Still, I think he would do very well in Westwood. As far as potentially open jobs for James, I could see him wanting to go back to the SEC, an Auburn, an Arkansas, but I also think Maryland in his backyard would hold some appeal. He coached there. He was the offensive coordinator under Ralph Friedgen with the Terrapins. Not an easy job there either, but I think he'd be energized to compete still in the Big Ten and almost go after Penn State from that position. As for Fitzgerald, I think the current open job that fits him really well is Stanford. He spent a lot of years at an academically elite private school that knocks heads against other schools that have a more football commitment, I guess you would say. Stanford fits all of that. He knows how to recruit nationally because that's what you have to do at Northwestern and certainly what you have to do at Stanford. I think his style of play could bring back the old intellectual brutality days under Jim Harbaugh and David Shaw when they were a pound-it physical defensive program. So I like the fit there, but if another one that could come open, Wisconsin, that's in the area for him. He's made a lot of hay in the Chicago area, not just coaching, but recruiting, also throughout the Midwest. And Wisconsin's another program that might want to get back to more physical football than they've been playing under Luke Fickell. As for Gundy, probably not as good a market. But where could he land? How about UAB? They tried a disastrous experiment with Trent Dilfer, a guy with no experience. Gundy has a lot of experience and certainly knows how to get in, mix it up, recruit, compete. And there's a lot of recruiting talent in the footprint for UAB. Among potentially open jobs, same league, actually in the Sun Belt, Arkansas State, not far from where he is in Stillwater, just drive 6.5 hours east. Probably recruit a lot of the same stomping grounds in Texas. And that's a program that may get rid of Butch Jones in 5 seasons. Now, one other element here. There's 4 coaches who are at their alma maters who are doing phenomenal work. Do they want to stay at their alma maters if other schools that might have, quote unquote, better jobs come calling? It's Brent Key at Georgia Tech, Jeff Brom at Louisville, Clark Lee at Vanderbilt, Kenny Dillingham at Arizona State. There could be a market for any of them if they are willing to listen. We'll see. Or could they even just use it as a negotiating ploy? Keep an eye on those. In the fourth quarter of the Dash, let's go ahead and look at the Power 4 conference races that are starting to shape up now as we head into the final 5-6 weeks of conference play. The SEC, let's start there because it's a cavalry charge. There are 8 teams with 0 or 1 league loss so far, and there are 8 games between those teams. So we're going to start to thin things out beginning this weekend, really, when we've got a Missouri-Vanderbilt game that I don't think anybody expected to be a big deal, but here we are. I'm going to guess that the way this thing plays out, the most likely SEC title game matchup is Alabama against Georgia. Yeah, we've seen that one before. Saw it earlier this season in Athens. Alabama won that. Alabama won last year in Tuscaloosa. Alabama almost always wins against Kirby Smart. It is very odd the way that series has gone, but it is. They've played 4 times in the SEC championship game before. I think it would be a heck of a battle if we see them there once again. I could see Alabama at 8-0, Georgia at 7-1, and winning maybe a tiebreaker over 7-1 Texas A&M. The Big Ten, also a bunch of teams in there with 0 or 1 losses. I've got 9 of them. 2 of them just 2 undefeated, Ohio State and Indiana, and then a bunch chasing them. There are 12 games left between those 9 teams, so it's going to sort itself out to a degree, but my best guess for a championship game there, Ohio State and Indiana, they both have pretty easy roads to get through, and if Ohio State can do what it fails to do often, which is beat Michigan. But I could see them both being 9-0 and playing a heck of a championship game there with the number 1 playoff seed at stake going to the winner. And the loser would probably still be in the top 4. Now, the freshest title game in the Big Ten, one that would be fun to see, but I don't expect it, but UCLA and Minnesota. How about that? They're both still in contention. UCLA's obviously never played in an a Big Ten championship game. Minnesota hasn't won a Big Ten title since 1967. The ACC, fewer teams there, but only a little bit, 8. Georgia Tech is 4-0, Virginia and SMU 3-0, and then several one-loss teams. My best guess how that one's going to turn out, Georgia Tech Miami title game. Tech has a really flat path to get there. They've got to play Georgia at the end of the regular season, but that's not a league game. Everything else, I think they'll be favored in. The Hurricanes should be able to get back there. They've got a couple of challenges still to go, but I expect them to bounce back from the upset loss to Louisville. If you want a completely off-the-wall game, how about Cal and Virginia? We certainly haven't seen that in that league. And the Big 12. Fewer teams involved there, at least with 1 loss. There are 5 of them, but this is also the most competitive league, and there could be a bunch of losses still to come. Every game looks like a bit of a toss-up in that league. Right now, the most likely is a rematch of a game we just saw on Saturday. Texas Tech, Arizona State. But ASU, they've got to be able, they've got 2 losses now, or 1 loss, but they've got to be able to get past Cincinnati, which has 0. BYU is in the mix. Houston's in the mix. We'll see if Iowa State can get back in the mix. I'm expecting Texas Tech, ASU, but wouldn't it be kind of fun to see a BYU-Cincinnati Big 12 championship game? Neither of them were in the league as recently as a couple years ago. So that's your 40-yard dash for this week. Thanks for reading. Keep enjoying the season.